2 years, over 100,000 photos. The R6 Mark II has been my workhorse camera for weddings, portraits, travel, commercial work. But was it really worth upgrading to? And at this point, is it really worth buying over something like the Canon R8 or even the original R6? Let's get into it. So how has the R6 Mark II treated me over the last 2 years, and who do I think this camera is for, and who do I think should probably look elsewhere in Canon's RF lineup? Let's start with image quality. The 24 megapixel sensor, the same one that can be found in the Canon R8, is actually one of my favorites on RF mount full stop. And to me, that really comes down first and foremost to the colors. I genuinely prefer the color science on the R6 Mark II over definitely the original R6, and often over the R5 Mark II in a lot of cases as well, because to me, the colors just look more natural and true to life, and that is especially the case for skin tones, I find. And while 24 megapixels probably sounds quite modest in 2025, I find that it is more than enough for pretty much any professional work. And the images from this camera crop surprisingly well, but I'll touch on that a little bit more in a minute. The R6 Mark II delivers that Canon magic that reminds me of the 5D Mark IV or even the original EOS R, which I think had really underrated color science. If you like those kind of colors, then you're probably gonna love this camera. I shoot a lot of portraits and travel work with this camera, and the colors straight out of camera are not only flattering, but they are super easy to edit as well. The JPEGs just coming straight out of camera are fantastic. And in most cases, I barely need to touch my shots in post. So I've always been really happy with the image quality from the R6 Mark II. I also own the R5 Mark II, and image quality is not a deciding factor for me when choosing between which camera to take out. So to prove that, or maybe for you to make up your own mind, I'm gonna put both cameras on a tripod, take the same shot, and we'll take a close look at the image quality between the two and see if you can spot a difference between these cameras. All right, so here are the images side by side, and we are zoomed in to 300% here. And honestly, the difference in detail captured really is minimal, I think, in the real world, even up against the Canon R5 Mark II's 45 megapixel sensor. I think the R6 Mark II holds up very, very well. And I've always been really impressed by how much cropping the R6 II can handle. So let me show you a very, very heavy crop here from both cameras. And as you can see, side by side, the R6 Mark II still looks great, and I think every bit as good as the R5. And that is why I trust it a lot for travel. It might not have the super high megapixel count of the R5 Mark II, but it retains detail way better than you might expect, and there's not any kind of night and day difference between these cameras. Crops look really clean and sharp and totally usable, but you can download the raw files from this little test and make up your own mind. Dynamic range in photo on the R6 Mark II is also fantastic. I have yet to find a high contrast, challenging scene that this sensor couldn't handle. Even with aggressive shadow recovery, the files stay clean, noise is minimal, and detail holds up really well. And highlights are also surprisingly easy to preserve. Personally, with this camera, I just always underexpose my shots by a third of a stop or so for, in my opinion, the best results. And when you do bring back detail in the shadows, especially on skin, for example, tones stay natural and smooth without any of that weird muddy look that some sensors give you. Overall, it's just a very forgiving sensor that gives you a lot of flexibility in photo, in post, especially for tricky lighting situations, say backlit situations or harsh sunlight. I know that I can always trust the R6 Mark II. It's also a low light beast with not just usable, but fantastic results right up to 12,800 ISO. The combination of color science, croppability, and dynamic range make the R6 Mark II a no-brainer in my opinion for working pros. It's still my go-to for commercial work, for wedding work, and it's not just because of image quality, but it's because the autofocus is very predictable and reliable. And I also prefer the more manageable file size compared to my R5 Mark II, which is why for me personally any day, I'd rather take this to a wedding than my R5. And at weddings here in the UK at least, I still see a ton of original R6 bodies in the hands of wedding photographers, and for good reason, but I am noticing a few more people switch on over to the R6 Mark II, and I'm not surprised because this is about as perfect as a wedding camera as you can get. And to be honest, that small step up in autofocus performance over the original R6 does really make a difference in those more challenging situations. So with weddings, you know, fast-paced, unpredictable environments, this camera just seems to always get it right for me. I can just generally trust it to lock on and track my subject without having to second guess it. I would say the R5 Mark II is better in terms of autofocus, with it being a more recent release, but still, the R6 Mark II is really great. Battery life is also surprisingly good. In my experience, it'll outlast my Canon R8 and my R5 Mark II, so it's one of my better cameras in terms of battery life. I found for travel photography, I can shoot thousands of photos over a long day with just a single battery, as long as I'm turning it off in between. And for weddings, I generally take 2 or 3 batteries max, and that will easily get me through a full day without having to stress. Before we continue, this video is sponsored by Squarespace, and as a photographer, having a website to showcase your work is a must, and Squarespace just makes it so easy because there's no coding or design skills needed. It is mostly just drag and drop, and Squarespace even have amazing AI tools like Design Intelligence or their new Blueprint AI, which all just help you create a personalized website in just a few easy steps. And of course, the fully customizable photo galleries are just perfect for showing off your portfolio. And if you have something to sell, whether physical or digital, Squarespace has fantastic e-commerce tools that make setting up your own online store a breeze, and you can start selling fast. So if you're ready to get started, head on over to squarespace.com/jamesreader and use code jamesreader for 10% off your first domain or website. And we haven't even touched on video yet, because that really is what makes the R6 Mark II such a great buy, because it is an amazing hybrid camera with fantastic video capabilities that still beats out a lot of rivals in its price range in a couple of key areas that I really care about. And I really love the 4K image from this camera. It's 6K downsampled, so it is very detailed and sharp, but at the same time, it still has a nice organic look. And all that great color science from the photo side of things carries on into video as well, thanks to C-Log3, which I think is just so easy to grade. It is really easy to get a nice looking finished image fast. I actually recently used it entirely for a short travel film that I made over in Montenegro and Croatia, and every time I'm just blown away by the results from this camera and just how far mirrorless cameras have come in the last few years. Dynamic range in video is also very good. Shadows remain nice and clean as long as you get your exposure right. Now, this can be a bit of a tricky camera to figure out how to expose at first, but it's actually pretty simple when you figure it out. For me, with C-Log3, you want to overexpose it, and I generally push my highlights till they're just below clipping, and then we'll bring it down in post for the best results and for the cleanest shadows, and I'll just use the histogram to do that. It's excellent in low light, and the video file sizes are nice and small and manageable, and in all my testing and in all my use, I have not had this camera overheat on me at all. And without a doubt, this camera also has some of the best 4K 50 on the market, even today, 2 years later, because you're getting full frame 4K 50 with no crop, and it is so clean and so sharp. It beats out my Canon R5 Mark II. I put them side to side, and the R6 II is sharper, and well, not just sharper, it just provides a much more clean image, where the R5 and the R5 Mark II gets a little mushy. Not this, it just looks fantastic. And again, still, as of right now, full frame 4K 50 is not that common at all, especially in this price range, still in 2025. So for content creators, wedding filmmakers, or anybody who does pro photo and video, the R6 Mark II really hits that sweet spot in my opinion. And the R6 Mark II also hits a real sweet spot when it comes to handling, in my opinion. Size-wise, it sits comfortably between the R8 and the R5 Mark II, and that balance makes it incredibly versatile, because smaller lenses feel right at home on the more compact body, but at the same time, Throw on something heavier like the 28-70 f2 or a 70-200, and the grip is really nice and it still handles it beautifully. And that's why I just keep coming back to this camera for travel and for any kind of like long shooting days. It just works for me, down to the ergonomics, the sensible button layout, and the overall feel in the hand make it really easy to shoot with all day without fatigue. There are a few downsides to this camera though, and to be honest, they're pretty minimal and all on the video side of things. And the main one is the IBIS wobble. I've mentioned this so many times before, but the stabilization in this camera, it's great, but on wider lenses, it's almost too powerful because you're going to see that kind of warping, overcorrection in the corner of the image. So anything wider than 24mm, you really do have to be mindful of that, which makes it, for me, not really my favorite camera to use for vlogging and things like that. We're also missing a full-size HDMI port, and I definitely love to see better exposure tools because, like I said, it's a bit of a tricky camera to expose, so waveform would have made that so much easier. We see that in rival cameras in this price range, like the S5 and the S5 Mark II from Lumix. So I do miss that here in the R6 Mark II. But there are rumors that we're going to see an R6 Mark III maybe this year. So what would I want to see in the next iteration of the R6? Personally, I'm actually perfectly happy with 24 megapixels. I don't need more, but I would like to see the sensor from the Canon R3 make its way over to the Mark III of the R6 because that is an incredible sensor. And I think we'd get C-Log 2 along with that, because I actually think that that's the same sensor in the Canon C80, and C-Log 2 would be the one feature really that would make me want to upgrade from the Mark II. Of course, full-size HDMI and waveform monitoring are going to be great additions that I do expect that we'll see in the next version. What I'm really curious about is the angle that Canon are going to go with the sensor. Will they choose to bump the resolution a little bit to say around 30 megapixels to compete with, say, the Sony a7 IV, or will they decide to go with a 24 megapixel stacked sensor? Either way, I'm really excited to see what they come up with. But who really needs this camera? Well, I think for amateurs and enthusiasts, the R8 is still probably the camera that I would recommend for most people because you're going to get the same sensor as the R6 Mark II anyway, plus most of the core features at really an unbeatable price. And for non-professionals, I think the extra features that you get with the R6 Mark II for the most part probably aren't worth it. So save the money and go with the amazing Canon R8. But maybe you are a pro and you need redundancy, you need that peace of mind from 2 card slots. Well then, again, you've still got the original R6, and like I said, it's still been used by so many working pros to this day and it's still delivering amazing results. So I would strongly consider saving a boatload of money and going with the original R6. But if you are a hybrid shooter, anybody who needs top tier photo and video capabilities in one body for pro use, well then the Canon R6 Mark II delivers that in spades. It's more reliable than the original R6 in terms of video, it's not going to overheat, and it definitely has improved autofocus and colors. Switching between photo and video is also seamless. It's much nicer than on the original R6. And of course, you get that peace of mind of 2 card slots, which is something that the Canon R8 doesn't offer. And one last thing, if you are a pro that's maybe still using a Canon DSLR and you're thinking about making the switch over to mirrorless, then I really think that the R6 Mark II is the perfect place to start because prices on this camera are better than ever. This camera offers everything that a pro needs, in my opinion, and it's going to serve you for many years to come. I guess the only thing is you might want to wait and see what happens this year with the Mark III, because if that drops in a couple of months, then prices on this are going to be even better. But to wrap up, the Canon R6 Mark II has truly been an absolute dream to own and use over the past 2 years. For me, this is where Canon has struck the perfect balance between image quality, versatility, reliability, and it just makes it so easy for me to recommend this camera to hybrid shooters and pros alike. So whether you're focused on video or photo or both, the Canon R6 II really delivers. But let me know down in the comments what you think of the R6 Mark II, and also let me know what you would want to see in a potential Mark III of this camera. I would really love to hear your perspective. And if you want to dive deeper, check the description of this video because I've included raw files and links to side-by-side comparison videos against the competition and more info that's going to really help you decide if this camera is right for you. But that is everything from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.